Hi, you're watching Yoga in Your Living Room. I'm Brentan Schellenbach, and today we're doing a short practice of standing poses at your desk. So let's put away our technology, and maybe before we can get up, we can take a little stretchy yawn or deep exhale while we're still seated down. Just a chance to move the torso and the arms in another fashion from the way we have likely been sitting here doing. So you can kind of even see that the mind now starts to pull away from whatever tasks we were working on before, so that even though this is a short practice, we can show up and be fully present for it. We can fuel our body with deep breathing and set ourselves up for success for the rest of the day. So in our own time, let's go ahead and stand on up. An easy standing position will do. Adjust your clothes so that you feel all good. And then with the feet down underneath the pelvis, take some opening standing movement, kind of softening a bend into the knees and into the joints in general, so that what we're trying to do is feel the whole body as a cooperative, united community, so that the toes feel connected to the legs. Sometimes even kind of moving, shifting the pelvis side to side, because that's a ball and socket joint. So it's not like the knee that just tracks forward and backward, but you could even do like full pelvis rolls a little bit here. And that'll really help free up anything, when we don't move for long periods of time. The first thing we're trying to do is really mobilize all these areas. So getting into that. And then with the spine and the ribs, that can kind of deep breathing, going in and out. And then we'll meet with a shoulder and a chest opener. So something a little bit different than what we're normally used to doing when we're sitting in front of the computer, which is the opposite motion. We're going to take all of that back. So we want to open the chest without it taking the lower back into too deep of its extension there. So we want to take the pelvis right under the body. We want to feel the navel hug back and up through the chamber of the ribs. And then the heart is exposed and lifting up through the armpit creases. Then the skull will snuggle right on top of that. You can even use your hands. We got a hook in the back of the skull where it attaches right onto the neck. And that's called the occipital ridge. And just pulling that point up and back in space until the skull is perched ever so lightly on top of the shoulders. And then we'll work out actually through this whole neck and throat area. So to do that, let's stay open and broad through the chest by taking the hands on the waist and energizing the elbows toward each other. If that feels right on your shoulder girdle to interlock the hands and hug the upper arm bones that way, that is totally appropriate as well. Now, before we do anything else, start to feel the breath go really low and deep into the torso, filling up into the belly. And maybe letting these exhales travel out through the mouth today, so that we're softening any tension, anything we're keeping in our jaw. And let the breath actually finish and ride out completely, so that we're approaching our movement from a very relaxed state. And so without changing the standing body, staying really upright and focused there, we can start to take the neck and let it travel in some half circles around. And then we'll move the whole body. Let's take the hands to the front of the pelvis. On the next inhale breath, we're going to slide a bend into the knees to a soft chair pose. So we want to keep the weight back into the heels, knees over the ankles, pelvis is weighted back in space, really like you were going into a deep chair behind you. Keep the belly active, keep the chest forward of the armpits, lengthen out through the skull. Take a full breath in and then emphasize a back bend just a little bit here. So shine the heart forward and look up. Then on the exhale, opposite action, you scoop the tail, belly button back and up to the heart, which rises the whole body out of the pose. You do a shoulder lift at the top and then roll that back into place so that we find ourselves in that nice vertical upright position. And now we can track in and out of a chair pose with a kind of a cat-cow spine. So now we're opening up all the spinal vertebra. Here we go. Take your hands to the front of the pelvis. Next, inhale breath, soften down to chair. As you start to finish the breath cycle, expand into a little back bend. Lengthen through your back ribs out of your pelvis. And then exhale, scoop in all the way up. Shoulders lift and roll and step back into place. Let's do this 3 more times. If you got a wall around you, let's step towards that. Otherwise, I assume you have a chair. So you can use the top of your chair as well. Works just as well. We're gonna keep opening through that area. We're gonna involve a little bit of a stretch of the lower body and a little bit of relaxation stress really for the upper body by lowering it down in its line of gravity. So take your hands to the wall or to the back of the chair. You can step the feet back. We're trying to get them underneath the hips. You can bend into the knees, certainly, if you're feeling a bit muscularly tight. And then we want to set the arm bones specifically so that we're getting shoulder relief and not shoulder tension here. So bend into your elbows, notice which direction they're pointing in. If they had laser beams on them, where would they point? Get your laser beams to point straight down at the floor by wrapping the upper arms in a rotation. Then you can straighten out through the arms. Soften the heart. Breathe fully 3-dimensionally into your whole torso. Two more breaths. Nice and easy. Press into your hands. Come on up. Keep your left foot where it is. Step your right foot forward towards the wall. Turn your left toes open ever so slightly, but keep both feet on the ground. So if one of your heels is lifting, you might need to take your feet closer together. What we're doing here, attempting to do, is activate a stretch through that back leg, particularly through that back calf muscle. So really anchor down through that back heel. Take the frontal hip bones, but especially your left frontal hip bone. If you don't know what I'm talking about, take your hands down to your pelvis. Feel around for them, they're there. And you want to take that hip bone into your body, towards the back plane of the body, so that it will start to also now trigger a stretch through the front left knee. And you can play around with bending and straightening that right leg if you want. This is kind of like a warrior one pose if you're familiar with, that yoga on your mat style. And then press into the wall, take your right foot back, step your left foot forward, toes forward, but your right toes now go open ever so slightly. Both feet flat on the ground. Use your feet evenly, use your legs evenly. And that's what kind of pumping in and out of a bend in that front leg can be really useful for really establishing that strength. Press into the wall, take your left foot back, step your right foot in just ever so slightly so that you can come easily off the wall. And then we'll come to the center of our space. we'll prepare to sit down and rejoin our workday. So it's our final few moments to move, to breathe, to feel really good. Personally, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna step my feet a little bit wider and kind of activate through the inner thigh line by bending into one leg and then coming up and going to the other. And just kind of going in and out of this a few times. Can even get lower to the ground and activate more sensation if that's what feels right. And before sitting down to join back up with our tasks, reaching the arms overhead for one more time. Deep, full breath in all the way down to the base of your belly. Can you hold it at the very tip top and just let it hover there in relaxation? Oh, and then exhale, sprinkle slowly. So it's not this big dramatic release, but it's calm, it's cool, it's collected. You're in a position where you're ready to take on anything, no matter what challenge arises. All right, thank you so much for joining for your standing stretches at work. Have a great day.